Hey, what's up, Chemical Guys family? Today we're going to show you guys how to get rid of door handle scratches and paint scuffs. Let's get started. All right, guys, so it's the end of the summer and our friend here went a little too hard. So as you guys can see, he has a paint scuff right here and he has a lot of scratches on his door handle. So today we're going to hook him up and we're going to remove this. Now, I'm going to give you guys a disclaimer right now. This is not going to come out 100%. There are going to be some things that don't come out, but we can make it look a whole lot better with just a few simple tricks. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we want to do is wipe down the surface. So I'm going to use some synthetic quick detail spray. Nothing crazy. We're just going to use this to wipe down away all the dust and debris and anything that's sitting on the surface. So we're going to go ahead and just lightly mist it on here. And then we're going to grab our microfiber towel and we're going to go ahead and roll our wrist as we wipe. That way we don't cause any kind of scratches from any kind of dirt lines that we accumulate on our towel here. So you guys can see right here, this stuff does not just wipe right off, that's etched into the actual bumper itself. And like I said, a lot of this is gonna come off, but there are gonna be some things that we unfortunately cannot remove, but we can definitely make it look a lot better with some of our compounds and polishes. And the reason I wanted to do this video is because I want to show you guys different tricks and techniques that you can use to remove something like this. Now, the first thing that you want to do, as opposed to just going, as hard as possible with the super aggressive compound, start off light. So what I like to do is I like to go ahead and just clay bar the surface first. So this can actually sometimes remove it all entirely. And if it doesn't, well, guess what? You just prepared the surface. That way you can use a compound or a polish. So you kind of, you don't really waste any time there. If it doesn't come off, you just kind of save yourself another step in the process. So we're gonna grab ourselves a medium grade clay bar. As you guys can see, I got a little bit less than normal just because this is a smaller area and because we're probably gonna have to throw this piece of clay bar away because we don't want all this paint transfer on our clay bar to contaminate any other thing that we decide to clay. So we're gonna grab our clay luber, which as you guys know is a synthetic lubricant, and we're simply gonna spray the area, make sure it's all lubricated as well as our clay bar. And then we're simply just gonna glide left and right. Now, I don't expect for the clay bar to remove much of this, but you can see that it is actually doing a pretty great job at removing some of it very quickly and without any kind of abrasive or aggressive products to use. All right, guys, so we just finished clay barring the surface, and as you guys can see, it did a little bit better, but it didn't remove it entirely, which is fine because we have other things that we can use to remove this. Now, the next thing I'm gonna do is go back with my microfiber towel and wipe off the residue of the clay luber. And then if I did forget to mention, just make sure that you clay bar the surface until it's fully smooth. And I can feel right here, it's nice and smooth. So just make sure it's nice and decontaminated before you move on forward with any other of the steps that we're about to show you. So now that we're done wiping off the residue, now what we're gonna show you is a non-abrasive form of way that you can remove this, and that is with some wax. Now, our butter wet wax, believe it or not, contains natural carnauba oils that actually remove things like paint transfer, adhesive residue, tree sap, glue residue, you name it. This thing does incredible, and not only shining and protecting your ride, but doing that as well. So, like I said, this also contains no abrasives, so this is not breaking down your vehicle's clear coat. It's not removing any kind of protective ceramic coatings on your paint. This is just cleansing your paintwork in a sense, very gently. We're gonna set down our bottle of butter wet wax. So now we're gonna blot out the butter wet wax on the affected area. And then you don't even have to go crazy. All you have to do is just simply work it in, left, right, up and down. And as you guys can see, you can actually see it's cleaning it up very nicely on the lighter areas that's affected, which is throughout the back part of the bumper. And right here, as you guys can see, I'm gonna start going up and down, and this should just knock this off because a lot of this is just really stuff that's on the surface and not etched into your clear coat. And by etched into your clear coat, I'm talking about scratches, which are like in the actual clear coat, which you actually have to polish out. This stuff can easily just be knocked off with a light cleaning oil like our butter wet wax. So it looks like the majority of the lighter stuff did come out with the butter wet wax, but you do have these scratches along this little border of the quarter panel that meets the bumper. So for something like this, we will need something abrasive to cut through the clear coat because this is etched in. I can actually feel it like through my glove, where you can kind of feel it indented into the actual bumper itself. So for something like this, we're gonna need to cut. Now, I do have a polisher right here on my soft stool, but I wanna hopefully not get to that point. So we're gonna go with something like our V36, which is a light cutting polish. This does contain abrasives, but very light abrasives. So it's not as aggressive as something like our V32, which I also have ready on standby. Our V32 is an extremely aggressive. It's an extremely aggressive cutting compound, and this is great for cutting through heavy imperfections like heavy scratches, heavy swirls, heavy oxidation. But for the sake of this, and just because there is a little section right here, I don't know if you guys can see, the paint has actually been rubbed off. Unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do for that besides just hit it with touch-up paint, or if the owner wants to just repaint the whole bumper, hopefully not, just because we just did all this work, but he can just easily touch this up with some white paint and it'll be like nothing was ever there in the first place. So now we're gonna grab our V36. This is our orange light cutting pad. This is our hand pad. So this is gonna work out great in handheld form as opposed to the ones that we use for the machines. So all I'm gonna do is but I'm gonna put about 2, maybe 3 drops onto my applicator. And then the trick with this product is that it does contain abrasive, so you wanna make sure that you work it in until it's thoroughly broken down and clear. So as you guys can see, I'm gonna start just rubbing it in. And another reason I didn't want to use a machine right here is because since the paint and the substrate is exposed, if you were to use a machine going at a very high speed and that catches onto the paint, it could potentially just yank it off and make it look a lot worse. So by doing it by hand, we refrain from running that risk. And as you guys can see, it's coming out pretty quick. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish removing all this with our V36 and our orange cutting pad, and I'll be right back with you guys to show you the final results. All right, guys, now that we're done working it in, I'm gonna grab a fresh microfiber towel. Then we're simply gonna buff off the residue of the polish. And as you guys can see, this thing cleaned up extremely well. It got rid of basically, I would say 95% of all the stuff that was on here. I'm only counting that 5% on this little scratch right here just because it's so minimal. And by the time you put some touch-up paint on here, you're never gonna know that anything ever happened here. It's kind of like the penguins from Madagascar. You didn't see nothing. All right, guys, so now that we are done removing the scuff mark on the bumper and the quarter panel, now we're gonna move on to removing the scratches on the door handle. So we're gonna go ahead and set up for that. Actually, let's just go there right now. Why wait? So as you guys can see, there's a bunch of scratches right here on the door handle. And pro tip for you guys, always carry around a piece of cardboard. Actually, that's not the pro tip. The pro tip is to get a piece of cardboard and just kind of bend it. That way it's extremely sturdy. And then what you're gonna do with this piece is you're gonna open up your door handle. You're gonna stick that in between. And you're gonna allow that to kind of give you some more space to polish right here. That way you're not constricted with, having to bop the door handle open back and forth whenever you're trying to clean this area. So we're gonna follow some of the similar steps that we did on the rear scuff, which is cleaning the area. So we're gonna grab our synthetic quick detail spray. I'm gonna spray directly into there, microfiber towel. Then we're simply just gonna wipe off any dirt or grime residue that's sitting right here. That way we have full access to clean the area. So now that we wiped off the residue, I'm gonna set my towel down. And then just because we know that these scuffs are pretty deep as compared to the ones on the scuff on the bumper, we're just gonna go ahead and jump straight into some V36 cutting polish with our orange Hexlogic cutting pad here. And we're gonna put about 2 drops, just because it is a smaller area. And for this sake, I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of rub it into my applicator, because the last thing that I wanna do is stick it in there and then get the product stuck within the seals and the door handle itself. So to prevent that buildup, we're just gonna work this in very lightly. And then we're just gonna go and start buffing the area with our applicator. All right, guys, and just like that, we're all done removing the scratches from the door handle. You did see me kind of have to do some awkward maneuvers where I kind of pinched the applicator in half, and I kind of wedged it and kind of pulled it from the top and the bottom, just to kind of really make sure that we get all the scratches out as comfortably as possible. And now we're gonna grab our microfiber towel, and we're simply gonna buff off the residue of the V36 light cutting polish here to reveal that brilliant high gloss shine. All right, guys, and just like that, we're all done removing the scuffs and the scratches from the door handle, the rear quarter panel, and the rear bumper. It's that easy. We did all that using a few products like our butter wet wax, our synthetic quick detail spray, our clay luber paired with our medium grade clay bar, as well as our V36 and our orange Hexlogic hand pad. If you guys want to pick up any of these products, you can find them directly on our website, chemicalguys.com, or at your local detail garage store. Make sure to also like and subscribe for future videos. And as always, my name is Joey. This is Chemical Guys. We'll see you next time.